We're back with another weekly YouTube video. Last week it was a bit busy with everything that went on, so there wasn't a weekly YouTube video, but that's alright. I'm going to turn this blue light off. We're back this week. And this week I want to talk to you about why you're not growing. You're doing the training, you're doing the eating, you're doing the sleeping, but you're not growing. Or you don't seem to be getting bigger, and you don't seem to be getting stronger. Why? Probably because of multiple things. Not just one. It could be one of many. It could be many things entirely, but it's probably a couple of reasons rather than just one. So, the first reason why you're not growing is simply you're not lifting or accumulating enough volume. So, when we go to the gym, it's not enough just to smash weights or smash a muscle group to the point where it is sore and do that every time mindlessly. The reason being is if we want to adapt, we need to give the body a reason. We need to create enough stress and stimulation from resistance-based activity to be able to grow. So to go in every week and just guess what you're lifting or just train to failure or train until you're sore can be enough initially, but over time that's not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough to keep you going and keep you progressing. So tracking your weights, tracking your volume over time is going to be paramount, because if you want to grow, you have to be lifting more volume over time, which is called progressive overload. It's a very simple concept. So when people talk about progressive overload, it means just overloading the muscle progressively over time. And the more advanced you get, the more hours you spend in the gym, and the more volume you acclimate, the more strategic you have to get for that and with that, because you can't just go in and smash one muscle group as much as you want anymore. It's not going to work. That's where you want to be training your muscle groups 2 to 3 times a week, which I would advise anyway. You're not completely destroying them. You're not training till failure, so you can go in multiple times a week and stimulate and accumulate volume, create an MPS, muscle protein synthesis response, and effectively overload and then cause a demand for growth. The second thing, which is a bit of a caveat to that, is are your goals aligned? So what I mean by that is, and this is really simple and a lot of people don't think of it, they say, Alex, I want to get bigger and I want to get stronger, but then they train like an endurance athlete. And they're doing loads of cardio and they're not very lifting heavy weights at all. They're lifting really, really high reps, but they're not even using any effective volume. They look like they're training hard, but they're not really training hard. You have to train and accumulate a certain amount of volume. So it's not about just training within a 3 to 4 rep range or a strength-based rep range. Something between the ranges of 4 at the lowest for most people for strength, all the way up to 12 and 15 for your smaller isolation movements is a good rule of thumb, but it's not gospel. It's all contextual. But that allows you to work with a certain amount of volume. You want to make sure you're working at a certain intensity as well, which means you're using a certain weight, you're providing a certain effort, and you can use a basic scale called the RPE scale to gauge that. An RPE scale stands for Rated Perceived Exertion, and that is how hard you perceive that weight to be on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being complete failure and 1 being just super easy at its generalist terms. Now there's other things as well that you can throw in, but to keep it simple, that is a really good gauge. And as you become more experienced as a lifter, you'll be able to gauge an RPE more accurately. So for example, in the beginning phases, say of a lift, or when you're learning something, you might think, oh wow, that deadlift was an RPE 8. And then really, a couple of weeks later you go, no, it probably wasn't, it was more like an RPE 6 or 5. And obviously, the more experience you get, the more advanced you become, the RPEs change over time, the heavier loads you work with, etc., etc. So aligning your goal and actually training congruent to it is something that most people don't do. You can't just go in and lift weights and do all these, hit it from every angle and not accumulate volume. You need to provide enough stress and stimulus on the muscle group. So that's why the big compound movements, multiple muscle, multiple joint movements, are going to be the best to accumulate your meat and potatoes, if you like, of volume, and then couple with a few isolation exercises depending on, again, your goal, your physique, your training, your skill, etc., etc. The second thing is nutrition. Something I've discovered over the years, and something once again I've been through myself, is I'm eating a lot of food. I'm eating a lot of food. You're not eating a lot of food. You think you're eating a lot of food. Your food volume seems like a lot because of your food choices. You might be eating foods that are very highly satiating. You might be eating foods that are very high in fiber. You might be eating foods that are very processed even, to the point where you're not feeling satiated or you're feeling bloated because they don't agree with you. So once again, to avoid the guesswork, tracking your training, tracking your nutrition, using a basic tool like MyFitnessPal, okay, FitGene, even writing it down, keeping a tabs. You don't have to know to the actual dot, but if you want results, you need to know what you're putting in, because as the old maxim goes, what you put in is what you get out, and this is true. And you want to put in quality, and there's a lot that could be said on that matter, but that'll be delved into in other videos. So fundamentally, you need to make sure you're eating in a calorie surplus. That doesn't mean the seafood diet and eating everything that you see. It means eating in a controlled surplus so that you can gain body weight at a congruent rate, as well as lifting more weight over time. So if you're just eating more food but you're not lifting more over time, you're probably not going to be gaining muscle, especially not at an intermediate level. You're just going to be gaining body fat. You have to give the body a reason to grow and give the body a reason to use that extra fuel to build muscle. And these are simple concepts, but again, they're very, very much overlooked. So if you track your food, you might realize, oh, actually, I'm not eating that much, or I'm really deficient in protein, which is the most important nutrient, and not just for muscle building, for everything. People think of protein, they just think, oh, it's all muscle building. No. It's hair, it's skin, it's nails, it's the integumentary system, it's organs, it's everything. Protein is your most vital nutrient. We are made of proteins, etc. So it is vital that you get enough, and again, track it. Do not guess, track. Okay, the third thing is sleep, and this is massive, and I've talked to you about this on other videos. I'll bang on it about it more and more and more, because it is that important. It is more important than nutrition and training combined. If you don't get enough sleep, you will not grow. Simple. Okay, so even if you're not training, 8 to 9 hours, from what we know from studies, legitimate evidence-based literature and practices, we know that we need for optimum performance and just to be functioning at optimum levels is 8 hours of sleep. The paradox is we don't realize how underslept we are until we have a proper sleep. So a lot of us are going by 6 and 7 hours on the whole rest when you're dead, or this is what you need to do to be successful, where we know from, again, studies that that is just not the case. You are going to die earlier, you're going to get diseases, you're not going to be running at optimum level, especially if you sustain the 6 to 7 hour a night lifestyle. You, at some point, are going to hit a wall, you're not going to be able to sustain it. But also, you're not going to be as productive. So by sleeping a little bit more, you increase and enhance your productivity, as well as a myriad of other things to be able to perform, do business tasks, etc., communicate, hormonal production, metabolize fat, build muscle, etc., cognitive function, awareness. The list goes on. Resetting your hormones, etc., and making sure everything is running tip-top. Sleep is amazing. We know a fraction about it in terms of what we actually know, and even that is mind-blowing, and there's still a lot of research to do on it. But if you are training as well, you are going to definitely need 8, even 9 hours of sleep, because when you rest, that's when you are repairing the muscle. That's when the body's repairing everything. The brain, all the damage that's been done throughout the day. Right now we're undergoing minor brain damage, believe it or not, and when we sleep, it gives the body the opportunity to repair and recover. That's why in hospitals people lie down, they're in beds. There's a reason for that. We're trying to be in a rested state. So if you're not prioritizing sleep and you want to get bigger and you want to get stronger, you better learn to have good sleeps. I was not one when I was younger to have good sleeps. I would just stay up too late or eat too much food. I wasn't really bad, but wasn't consistent. When I really started to take ownership of that and really prioritize it and understand how to improve my sleep, that was also a pivotal change which helped me actually enhance the way I looked and the way I felt and the ability to be able to progress over time. So sleep, very, very, very important. So tracking your training, tracking your nutrition, making sure you sleep and tracking it even if you want, and aligning your goals. They're my key things for you. Now, there's 100 other things that we could go into, the nitty-gritty within training, like perhaps you're not lifting correctly, your form is not there, you're not doing the right exercise and exercise selection, the foods you're choosing are perhaps not quite in aligned, or you're not getting the right macronutrient ratios right, etc., etc. But to keep these videos short, sharp and sweet and to the point so you can get these key takeaways, I'm going to leave it there. I'm a coach here at EMF Robina, and I also do online coaching too. And I'm not someone who's going to give you a bullshit cookie cutter diet and program. If I can help you, I will. If I can't, I'll let you know, and I'll refer you to someone who I think can. I will not work out of my scope. As I always say to my clients, I'm a specialist, not a generalist. I've got a lot of experience, but I've still got a lot to learn as well. I'm always humble in that fact, and I educate myself every day because I'm always trying to do better, not only for myself, but for my clients. And at the end of the day, team, as I always mention, it's not that hard. It is very simple. The basics are always the best. And I guarantee that most of you who are not growing are not doing the basics. When I was studying, I met a gentleman called Ben Simpson. He was a degree student, he was very clever, was very young, and I wasn't growing, and he pretty much identified those key things for me. I wasn't lifting enough, I wasn't eating enough, and I wasn't sleeping enough or properly. And lo and behold, I started doing those three things properly. I started taking ownership and applying myself, and lo and behold, I started growing. And I'm still doing that to this day. So guys, as always, thank you for watching. Make sure you like the video, subscribe for more weekly, and share it with someone who you think is going to benefit too. And in the meantime, as always, stay fearless.